Although considered by many to be a bit of an ugly duckling, the Tesla Model Y offers a package that not many others do. You can comfortably seat 5 adults, you've got range of over 300 miles, plentiful cargo space, and that Tesla supercharging network. Standard range models start from £51,990, the long range just under £58,000, and the Model Y Performance just under £68,000. So as with most Tesla cabins, it's a bit like sitting in a branch of IKEA, very, very minimalist. You've got this nice sleek vent that goes underneath the top of the dash, this sort of wood trim, steering wheel. All it's got on it is the indicator stalk, and you can obviously flash your lights with that and do the windscreen jets. You've got the gear selector here and just these 2 knobs on the steering wheel, and that's it. Clad with really nice leather, really comfortable under your hands. Nice driving position, brilliant view of the road ahead, really rubbish view out the back, but if you're going into reverse, obviously you've got cameras absolutely all over this car, so that's not a problem. So we've got 2 wireless phone chargers here, really nice deep cubby down here, 2 cup holders, and then another huge cubby here, which is really useful. You've got a decent sized glove box, but unfortunately the only way to open it is by using a command on the screen, which just seems a bit daft. Like, just give us a button, Tesla. And then pretty much everything else is either controlled via the screen or via voice commands. The voice commands work really well, and the screen has got a little bit of a learning curve, but after about 10 minutes you're absolutely fine with it. It's got a very sort of Apple feel in terms of its design, and it's the same system you'll see in things like the Model 3, and it just works really, really well. Sat-nav's good, really crisp graphics, it's mega responsive, and I mean, you've got the usual, you've got games on here galore, you watch Netflix or YouTube while you're charging, and of course it's got the all-important whoopee cushion function, which you can assign to any of the seats, to the indicators, or indeed do a whoopee cushion sound outside the car when someone's walking by. Massively spacious in the back here, as you can tell. That seat set to my normal position, loads of leg room, loads of headroom, and you've got this massive glass panoramic roof. You could easily get 3 adults in the back here. No transmission tunnel, so there's loads of leg room even in that middle seat. And you've got 2 USB-C sockets down here and a couple of vents. Not a great deal else really. It's all very minimalist, much like the front. So when it comes to the driving the car, obviously I'm usually driving while I do this bit, but I'm on the motorway today and the weather's absolutely filthy, so I'm just going to sit here and talk to you. The car's lovely to drive. Obviously the acceleration is incredible, it's lightning fast. It's also very easy to control. The accelerator pedal's not an on-off switch by any stretch of the imagination, but when you do pin it down, the car absolutely goes like stink. So this is the long range all-wheel drive, and according to the figures Tesla have given me, it's got a 0-60 time of 4.8 seconds, maximum speed of 135 miles an hour and 331 miles of range. So for this review, done probably 1,000 miles in this car. I'll put the figure actually up on the screen for you, but we've really sort of tested that range. And although we haven't let the battery completely deplete, we've been sort of grazing on power and trying to charge where it hasn't caused us any kind of inconvenience. So when we've just stopped for a comfort break or something, just plugging it in to charge then, I'd say you're probably getting 300, even with the temperature being fairly low and the weather conditions being pretty awful on 2 of the 3 days. The charging infrastructure has been brilliant. We've only used Tesla chargers. We've managed to get into one every time, the superchargers. A couple of times we've seen people having to wait because they're full up, and actually we're at Keel services now and there are 4 here and there's 1 empty. What you do find with the superchargers though, if someone comes and plugs in next to you, your charging speed goes down a bit. Most of the time the charging's absolutely rapid. We're often getting sort of 370 miles an hour in terms of how much range is going in the car within an hour. Obviously that last sort of 10 to 20% is slower, but I've been massively impressed by just how quickly the car charges, and on such a long trip, how much of an inconvenience it hasn't actually been. It's a really refined ride. It's very quiet inside the cabin when you're driving along, really comfortable on most surfaces, and we've been on motorways a hell of a lot of the time, and it just floats along, no issues whatsoever. Where we've had some really sort of hardcore bumpy surfaces like cobblestones in Edinburgh, and a few potholes here and there sort of around the back of the Lake District, it is very harsh, and almost seems like a different car to the one that you've just been cruising along the motorway in. It seems to really struggle on super hard surfaces, but the rest of the time it's great. One thing that's really annoying on this car, and it is annoying, is the turning circle. It's got a very, very wide turning circle, and it means where you might normally be able to swing into a parking space, for example, it might take a couple of backwards and forward movements that seem a little bit unnecessary. But on the normal roads it handles really well, and I guess there's got to be a compromise somewhere. That's the only way I think you could really improve this. I've never been in love with the looks of the Tesla Model Y. In fact, I haven't been in love with the looks of any Tesla, but the car's so good to use, so good in practice, and with this one there don't seem to be any kind of quality control issues whatsoever, as with the last Model 3 that I borrowed from Tesla. No quality control issues with that. The fact that I don't particularly love the way the car looks wouldn't put me off buying one, because it's that good. The infotainment system does a generally good job of finding superchargers along the route and telling you when you're going to need to charge and all the rest of it. It could perhaps be a tiny bit better by offering you a few more options. So I have also used the autopilot feature quite a lot, and it's really good. It's in beta at the moment, so improvements will be made, I've got no doubt. And obviously we get a slightly more restricted version of it in this country than in some countries across the world. Popping that on in some of the less congested motorways as we headed sort of north of Newcastle was brilliant. You don't sort of feel so fatigued somehow, even though you're still looking at the road and you've got your hand on the wheel. It does give you a chance to stretch your legs and whatnot, and not worry quite so much about what you're doing behind the wheel. As always, I like to sum these videos up by telling you how I feel about returning the car, and I'm gutted to be returning this one. It's absolutely brilliant. If I were to buy a family EV right now, I'd buy this. It's got loads of passenger space, it's really comfortable, it's really nice to drive, and it's got acres of space in the boot, and of course you've got the frunk. Thanks for watching this one, folks. Please give the video a thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't already done so. And this video would not have been possible to make without the support, obviously, of Tesla, who've lent me the car, but also of 𝗖𝗵, who have sponsored this video and indeed the little road trip video up to Edinburgh. So massive thanks to 𝗖𝗵. Link to 𝗖𝗵 in the video description. Thanks again for watching. See you next time. I've done a deal with 𝗖𝗵, who I think are one of the premier providers of online car history checks. As you can see here on this quick sample report, you can check the registered VIN number against the one that's actually on the vehicle. You can see the current MOT and road tax status. Has the car ever been stolen? Is there outstanding finance? Has it been an insurance write-off? If so, what kind? If it has been, can you see photos of the car before the damage was repaired? You know, you might see this car now and it's in perfect condition, but does seeing these images of it at the time of the accident make you change your mind possibly? Has it been a taxi? Number of previous keepers and the dates for those, number plate changes, mileage records. This is great because you can see any discrepancies in the mileage in a really easy to follow way. So if it done 50,000 one year, 40 the next, you know there's a problem. You've also got the MOT history checks all built into this one single report, and it will give you a basic car valuation. The bundles start from £1.60 a check, but I would all strongly recommend you go for the full check. Now I've done a deal with 𝗖𝗵. They do pay me if you use my link, so please do that because it helps support the channel. And I have to tell you that this is a completely unbiased recommendation. You should never buy a used car without running these kind of checks, and this is a fantastic one. Please use the link in the video description and help support the channel.